This thoughts video is going to be, I guess, a continuation of last week's map expansion ideas video. By the way, I appreciate all of you that took the time to watch that video and your comments. I do read over your comments, how a lot of you really would love to see Mexico, including Guarma, eventually added as places we could venture to in Red Dead Online. Now, over the past few days, on stream and off stream, some of us on the PS4 have been taking trips to Guarma, which you can see in the B-roll right now. And as most of you know, unfortunately, Guarma is not what it used to be. Back during the beta period, it looked actually like it does in Red Dead Redemption 2 Story, Chapter 5. But for some reason, Rockstar decided to remove the high-end version of Guarma from the map of Red Dead Online. Now, a lot of people have been speculating in the comment section about why Rockstar did this, and some even have made the point that there is still technically a high-res version of Guarma, but there's a certain path you have to take, and once you get there, it doesn't really matter because you end up getting sent back to Saint Denis anyways, the main map. So most of the part of Guarma that you can venture around if you actually take the trek to get there while you still have the ability to do so before Rockstar patches it, because they don't really like it when players are bored and decide to venture harmlessly outside the main portion of the Red Dead Online map. It's not game breaking. We're not doing any sort of money, gold glitching, or duping. We're just exploring. We're just enjoying the lands beyond the barrier of Red Dead Online. And it is quite impressive how much land actually exists outside of the map, from what I call the Void, up north in Canada, over in Mexico, and even on the other side of the Lanahatchee. There is a ton of unused land just sitting there. And it is amazing how big the map actually is. And it does make you wonder, was Red Dead Redemption 2 and Red Dead Online's original version of the map going to be a lot bigger, but for whatever rhyme or reason, they decided to reduce the overall size of the Red Dead Redemption 2 Red Dead Online map. But we're talking specifically about Guarma, and what remains is obviously very low-res version of what somewhat still resembles Guarma, kinda, sorta. Yeah, not very much so. But it is fascinating because if you ride around certain parts of low-res Guarma, or PlayStation 2 graphics Guarma, as some people like to jokingly call it, you can actually still hear some audio files of the natives of Guarma yelling at you, as if you are actually riding by their village and pissing them off, and they're yelling at you in Spanish. I noticed that when I rewatched my Guarma Expedition live stream a few days ago. And a lot of people are wondering, well, why did Rockstar remove Guarma, or at least the high-res version of Guarma from Red Dead Online? And that brings up three possibilities. Any of these can be true. The first one is Rockstar simply got tired of players going there. And I would probably say this is the least likely scenario as to why Rockstar decided to remove the high-res version of Guarma from the beta period. But it is interesting that I know they didn't want players going to Guarma because they put up certain barriers and area spots that would cause you to basically be once again transported back to Saint Denis. So I don't think this is the reason why Rockstar has replaced the high-res version of Guarma with this low-res. The second explanation is possible. The original version of Guarma simply took up too much room and memory on the Red Dead Online map, and perhaps it was causing issues during the Red Dead Online beta period, and Rockstar decided that it would be for the best to simply replace the high-res version of Guarma with a low-res version in order to hopefully make the overall experience of Red Dead Online run smoother. That's a possibility. The second one makes the most sense to me because it probably did take up a lot of memory, a lot of space, having the trees, having the beach, having the village, and the various other formations, along with the parrots, iguanas, everything else roaming around the official version of Guarma. And it wasn't being used in Red Dead Online anyway, so there's a very real possibility that it's just a simple explanation that Rockstar didn't see the point in having this landmass existing that they were never going to use for Red Dead Online at all, so they just simply decided to just put a low-res version in its place, which takes up overall less memory on the Red Dead Online map. Some people have actually come up with a third option regarding why we have this low-res thing, this version of Guarma, or Guarma in name only. It's because, according to some, like trippy commentaries, and this is actually something I would like for them to do, but chances are they're probably not, it was removed because Rockstar is working on completing Guarma for a future expansion. Now, if you did have the opportunity during the beta period, like I did, to ride around Guarma whenever it was in its high-res version, not all of it was high-res. There was a lot of low-res areas. It wasn't fully built because it was specifically made for Chapter 5 of Red Dead Redemption 2, which only uses the northern portion of the map at the beginning of Chapter 5, and then the rest of Chapter 5 takes place in the lower portion, the main portion of Guarma. And there's a spot somewhere in the middle that's very low res. And if you go high enough into the hills, the trees are very low res, they're transparent, and you see, graphically the game go down. In other words, if hypothetically Rockstar simply removed Guarma for the time being in order to work on it behind the scenes, polish it, fix it up, and eventually release it as a quote-unquote expansion for Red Dead Online, it would make sense for a placeholder for them to keep the low-res version until the high-res version of Guarma is good to go for future release somewhere down the road. And I'm not talking a month from now or perhaps even a year from now. It may take a while before we ever see Guarma added as a future expansion of Red Dead Online, if we ever see it at all. But once again, regarding these three possible explanations, and if you have another explanation why we have a low-res version of Guarma instead of the official high-res version, feel free and leave that below in the comment section. Of these three, I would say the one that makes the most sense is the RAM memory issue and the possibility that it just wasn't being used anyways. Rockstar had no intention of using Guarma in Red Dead Online, and they decided to simply remove it from Red Dead Online altogether. Now, another question that some people have speculated about for the longest time, myself included, and I don't claim to have a 100% answer on this. It's just, I guess, more theories, but backed by some possible fact. Where exactly is Guarma? Yes, I know, it's supposed to be an island off the coast of Cuba, but where is Guarma supposed to be on the Red Dead Online map? Now, thanks to some others like the MP and some of you out there, we have deduced that Guarma, for the most part, seems to be parked in the southeast corner of the map. At least that's where it's supposed to be. That is how a lot of us are able to venture to the point where we can literally dive into Guarma. And that leads to another interesting theory that Red and I were talking about the other day. That not only is Guarma parked off the southeast portion of the map, or it was, it technically is not even on the same level as the rest of the Red Dead Online map. As Red likes to call it, it's kind of like layers of a cake. The top layer of the cake is the rest of Red Dead Online's map. And you literally dive into the lower level of the map in order to get to Guarma. And this is a very interesting fun fact. Many years ago on last gen Grand Theft Auto Online, in the early days, players were actually able to glitch from Grand Theft Auto Online's main map of Southern San Andreas into North Yankton. And credit to GTA series, years ago they did this video I'm taking a screenshot of. I'll also link the video of it. And there was a way that you actually could glitch your way with a helicopter up into North Yankton, because the map of North Yankton for a time was actually parked in the southern portion of the Southern San Andreas map, above the Pacific Ocean, just below Los Santos. So it's the same premise, because it's the Rage engine. This is the way Rockstar makes their maps for their games. It's simply different layers of a cake, as once again Red suggested. And there's a lot of assets that require this layers in Grand Theft Auto Online, like the bunkers, various underground facilities in the game. They all have underground asset at different levels in order for players to have the quote-unquote properties in Grand Theft Auto Online. I think the exceptions are like the high-end apartments as well as the executive office space. I think anything else like garages, facilities, bunkers, even the nightclubs, all that stuff in the arcades, all that technically is on lower levels of the Grand Theft Auto Online map. But going back to the Red Dead Online map, we already have an example of the bar itself, the lower level of the Moonshine Shack. In fact, I would say probably the entire interior of the Moonshine Shack from the top floor to the bottom floor to the bar area is probably all possibly in a lower level. It just gives the appearance when you're outside that, you know, the main level is on the same level as the Red Dead Online map, but that's probably not true. It's gaming developer magic. The same can be said for the quote-unquote map of Guarma. It appears to exist underneath the Red Dead Online map, or underneath the Red Dead Redemption 2 map. Either or, tomato. Once again, I could be completely wrong about this theory, but I think that we have proof with the way Rockstar had North Yankton originally above the Grand Theft Auto Online Southern San Andreas map before they patched it because they didn't want players going up to North Yankton, just like they don't want players going to Mexico or Guarma and Red Dead Online. They just don't like it when we want to venture outside the official maps of Grand Theft Auto Online and Red Dead Online. The final thought I would like to bring up is, will we ever see Guarma again in Red Dead Online? It's quite possible, like we talked about a moment ago, that maybe Rockstar is putting the finishing touches on Guarma in hopes of eventually releasing it as an expansion, or at the very least, maybe they're going to use it as a map, right, for various modes like future showdowns, future gun rushes, future horse races, for, you know, various PvP activities. Maybe we'll never get to actually go there and free roam on Guarma, but maybe they'll use it down the road for the PvP modes, or maybe for a couple story missions in the future. Maybe that's where Jessica and Horley ends up, you know, in the future land of opportunities, and we have to go to Guarma to go help them out with something. But as far as Guarma as an expansion goes, another reason why I brought up North Yankton is because that's something that we had hoped for a very long time that Rockstar was going to do. Give us a North Yankton expansion, because North Yankton is also incomplete. And for the longest time, we were under the same assumption that Rockstar was working behind the scenes to, you know, actually build North Yankton, to fix it up, maybe make it like half the size of the Southern San Andreas map, maybe add a larger town to Ludendorff, and it would just feel like a nice new map for us to venture to somewhere down the road in Grand Theft Auto Online. There were rumors of a North Yankton as well as a Liberty City expansion for Grand Theft Auto Online, and there was also rumors of a Las Venturas as well as a San Fierro expansion, but those just turned out to be rumors. Sadly, I don't think any of those were true. Between those four, the most realistic of the two were obviously North Yankton and Liberty City, because there had been screenshots that have come out where Rockstar had made an updated version of Liberty City based off the Grand Theft Auto 4 map that could actually work for Grand Theft Auto Online as an expansion. And once again, it was always possible that maybe that they had completed North Yankton and had plans for it to eventually be an expansion. But both those ideas could eventually come true. It took forever for us to finally get the casino in Grand Theft Auto Online, so there's always a possibility, just like with other online games like World of Warcraft, where Rockstar will simply just add expansions somewhere down the road in the forms of North Yankton as well as Liberty City. However, going back to Guarma, at the moment, I sadly don't think that we're going to get a Guarma expansion. I sincerely hope that I'm wrong. I would love to be able to venture to Guarma, and at the very least, like we talked about a moment ago, maybe they'll just simply use it for other assets, like for Land of Opportunity story missions, or for PvP modes. Or they just have no plan at all of using Guarma when it comes to Red Dead Online. But since Rockstar isn't exactly very transparent and doesn't really know the word roadmap when it comes to an online game, unlike other developers, There's always the possibility that they might be working on an expansion involving Guarma or Mexico or Red Dead Redemption 1 story DLC, celebrating the 10-year anniversary of Red Dead Redemption 1, repackaged as a story DLC for Red Dead Redemption 2 with the Mexico expansion for Red Dead Online, or, Undead Nightmare 2 Electric Boogaloo. Anything's possible when it comes to Rockstar, like Grand Theft Auto 6 or Bully 2 or Table Tennis 2. But at the end of the day, a lot of that's just speculation, rumors, hopes, dreams, and ice creams. Until Rockstar officially confirms any of it, it's just fun to speculate. But at the same time, I would very much like to have Guarma as a future location that we could venture to in Red Dead Online, whether it's simply for the PvP modes or just a good place to put some story missions, or for free roaming. That would be awesome as well. But between Guarma and Mexico, I think I would have to pick Mexico. If I had a choice and Rockstar came to me, and I doubt this will ever happen, or if they came to any of you, which one would you rather have? If Rockstar put up a poll and they said, okay, we're going to give you at least one expansion, but it's either going to be Guarma or Mexico, which would you rather have as a future expansion for Red Dead Online? Let me know. Guarma or Mexico, and why Guarma and or why Mexico below in the comment section.